guys, it's Kier from the Best of Hockey, and before you watch this video, I want to warn you that the players on this list are players who aren't expected to dominate this season, but did. So if you're wondering why Kucherov isn't on this list, it's because even though he wasn't expected to get 128 points, he was always expected to dominate the league anyways. If you disagree with my choices, please don't dislike the video. Just give me the reasons why in the comment section, because I read them all the time, and tell me which player I should have put in the video. So here's two players that just missed out on the list. There's Elias Pettersson and there's Tomas Hertl. And their seasons were somewhat unexpected, but weren't surprising enough. But without further ado, let's begin with number 10. Tied for 10th spot are Robin Lehner and Thomas Greiss. Both are goalies playing for the New York Islanders, and both weren't expected to light up on the stat sheet, which both did respectively at the same pace. They each had a great season. Lehner with 46 games played at 23 wins, 18 losses, with a save percentage of .930 and a 2.13 goals against per average in the regular season. But in the Stanley Cup playoffs, he had even better numbers with a .936 save percentage and a 2.00 goals against average. And this was with a team that was expected to be in the bottom 10 this year for most of us. Thomas Greiss this year played 43 games, winning 23 and losing 16, with a save percentage of .927 and a 2.28 goals against per average. They've both played their parts to help the team make it to round 2 of the playoffs and have had an unexpected season coming off of 2 years of mediocrity each. Taking number 9 is another goalie, and this time Jordan Binnington. In my opinion, Jordan Binnington has had a spectacular year and one that almost no one could say saw coming. Before half of the season, actually, I had never even heard of this guy's name, and then he appeared out of nowhere and pushed the Blues into the playoffs. And even though he had a solid team in front of him, he had an amazing record of 24 wins and 5 losses in the regular season. And he was even nominated for the Calder Trophy, which didn't really surprise me at all. He has a 1.89 goals against per average and a .927 save percentage in the regular season, but cooled off during the playoffs with a 2.67 goals against per average and a .904 save percentage, which is why he's lower on this list. However, this season was extremely successful for him and he'll have a great future. Our 8th spot belongs to Alex DeBrincat. And although some may argue that he was predicted to have a solid campaign this season, I don't really think that anyone would have predicted him to be in the top 10 in goal scoring at the beginning of the year as a sophomore in the NHL. In a full 82 games played, he scored 41 goals and 35 assists for 76 points, almost a point per game. This was a big improvement from last year where he put up 52 points in 82 games, still very solid. And he went from scoring at a 0.634 points per game pace last year to a 0.926 points per game this year. He's had an underrated and surely unexpected performance on a bad Chicago team, and even though he's had time playing with Kane and Taves and other phenomenal players, he's already a huge asset to the Blackhawks offense, which is why he is on this list over other players. Morgan Rielly is number 7. The Toronto Maple Leaf is the team's best defender, and although his numbers didn't drastically improve like others on this list, he's proving that he's a top-tier defenseman at a fairly young age. Rielly scored 20 goals and 52 assists for 72 points in a full season, with a plus-minus of +24. Yeah, plus-minus doesn't matter, but he's been great on the power play, has shot a ton, and is a big presence on both offense and defense for Toronto. He scored at a 0.878 points per game pace this season, an unbelievable stat for a defender, especially for one who was predicted to have maybe around 45 to 55 points this season. Another defenseman takes number 6 spot, Thomas Chabot. Oh, did you hear that rhyme? He's a less developed player than Rielly and hasn't produced as much, but he's made an enormous leap this year. With Carlson gone, he was usually paired with DeMello, a second-line defenseman at best, and in his sophomore season is by far the Sens' best defenseman and arguably their best player. Chabot has led the awful Sens defense this year with a stellar 55-point season in 70 games, finding the back of the net 14 times. He's a menace to players offensively, and although makes a few defensive mistakes every now and then, is a still reliable person at almost any given time. Currently with Team Canada at the World Championships, He has 4 points in 3 games as of this recording, and has had an unexpected season to say the least, scoring from a 0.396 point per game last year to 0.785, more than doubling his 25 points from last year. Timo Meier finds himself at 5th on this list, and the main reason for him being so low is just because he's played for a contending Sharks team for his entire career. He was expected to have around 35 to 45 points at best this season, but went on to score 66 points in 78 games played instead. The 22-year-old scored 30 goals in the regular season and has 5 points and 10 assists for 15 points in 17 games this playoffs. Being so young, he still has time to develop in a top-line winger if he's not that already, playing with the likes of Couture and Nyquist. He was a first-round pick in the top 10, so he had some high expectations, which at first he didn't meet, but this year he had a truly unexpected season, scoring at a 0.846 point per game pace. Taking the 4th spot is Dylan Strome, and this one is controversial because if he hadn't been handled improperly in the first place, then many would have expected him to play like he did this season. However, as we know, Arizona didn't really give him a chance in the NHL, and he wasn't expected to be traded either. He had a remarkable season, which we didn't really see coming. He struggled with the Yotes, but finished the season with 57 points in 78 games, scoring a ridiculous 51 points in 58 games with the Blackhawks. Now he's a huge part of their offense and has proved himself to be a top player with his brilliant plays this year. The major stride for him this season was scoring at a 0.879 points per game throughout the year instead of last year's 0.428. Moving in the top 3 is Erik Gustafsson. Wait, before you start hating on this video, like everyone does these days, let me explain. Yes, he's 27 years old, but did anyone see him getting close to even 40 points this season? Heck, I didn't. I didn't even know who he was until he showed up. In his 3rd season in the NHL, scoring 60 points as a defenseman is no easy feat, especially on a non-playoff Chicago team. Yeah, there's a lot of Blackhawks on this list. Last year for him was about average. He scored 16 points in 35 NHL games and 17 points in 25 AHL games, but he wasn't ever considered to be a top NHL defenseman on his team until now. His 0.759 points per game coming from a pretty much out of nowhere is an incredible achievement that no one saw coming, proving that this season for him was truly unexpected. Moving on to number 2 is Max Domi. Now, I'm sure a lot of you must have seen him coming on this list after a stellar performance this year, not only in points but also helping the Canadiens fall 2 points shy of a playoff spot. After a mediocre season last year, points-wise, goal-wise he was awful, Domi came into the season as a downgrade of Galchenyuk after the trade, and a potential bust like he was in Arizona. On the contrary, he proved doubters wrong, scoring 28 goals and 44 assists for 72 points in 82 games this season. Not bad for a player who scored 9 goals last year, 4 of them being empty netters. Now I just realized this is another player traded from Arizona that dominated on another team. Sort of like what Ottawa did. Anyways, he scored at a 0.878 points per game pace compared to a 0.548 last year, and has been one of the keys for the Canadiens' success. But the player this year with the most unexpected year, in my opinion, was Mark Giordano. This may confuse you at first, but listen to me out. Giordano has always been seen as a capable defenseman on his team, but hasn't really exploded in points until this year. So he scored 74 points, 17 goals, and 57 assists in only 78 games. That's scoring at a 0.948 points per game pace as a 35-year-old. Insane! Especially when he compared to his previous year, which wasn't bad at all, but a 0.463 points per game pace doesn't scream Norris nominee to me either. Giordano led his team defensively and had a disgusting plus-minus of plus 39, the best in the league. And yeah, I know, he was on a stacked Flames team, but seriously, almost no one could have predicted him to have scored this many points and been such a good defensive and offensive defenseman at the same time, considering his age. So those are my reasonings for him being ranked at the number 1 spot. But let me know in the comment section if you think I missed out on any huge players If you disagree with me, no need to spread hate on this channel because it's not good for anyone. I just want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. So thank you again for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll be back soon.